so I don't show it running.
I've not targeted the convict on here, but I can't imagine there's other.
Give your business the glow up it deserves. Create a website worthy of your brand with Wix.
Alright, so now I have... it's finally running. Got my chat up here.
Oh yeah, there's the Spanish mackerel. There's one fish that could mess up my method for the convict on this board. On South Korea 20, there's no mistaking it. So on this board, I would only cast at the bubbles using my method. That way there's no, possibility of another fish. But
so what are we using for this convict?
So what I do, it's one of the switches. I wait for the bubbles. I refresh with the crawfish. And then on this one, you could do swirls or bubbles because the convict is at top and bottom with the dough ball. The problem is the Spanish mackerel, if you go to that on the Fishopedia, also prefers the dough ball. So there is one other fish that you might get that instant bite on. So you might reel in a Spanish mackerel. And one of the keys to this is, with the convict sergeant, is if you cast and you're on your bubble or you're on your swirl, if you don't get a bite within, that 2 seconds that you're there, indicating that that fish would be green for that, if you can see it on the fish finder, just retrieve your line. If you leave your bait there long enough, even if that fish is red, it's going to take it. So the key is an instant bite after a refresh with the crawfish and the dough ball. And then I guess we can talk about why I do some of these silly things.
Yeah.
How we discover it once we're kind of into it.
Yeah, we got
after
some people watching us so far. Hey, everybody. Alrighty.
And I've not tried this with just the dough ball refresh, but it's working for me. So that's what I always tell anybody. If you're doing something and it works, keep
doing it. Yep. Exactly.
There's always more than one way to catch a fish. And I'm not guaranteeing that you're gonna, have a fish in your water. What I'm trying to do is help people avoid catching a bunch of other fish, like that golden catfish. If you use my method of, starting with the crawfish and then switching to the shiner, you should find that you're not catching a bunch of standard catfish over and over and over. So, segue from that into how we ended up here. So, I don't know if you remember, it was I was doing the leaderboard, freshwater leaderboard in July, and you were working on a leaderboard video for your subscribers.
Yeah.
And I was telling you what you were on. We were both on South Korea 13, and I was like, oh, I'm getting this many points per hour, and I'm, casting at the swirls, and here are the fish I'm catching. So you go and try that, and you're like, I'm not catching those same fish under the swirls. I'm catching XYZ fish under the swirls. So then, we're messaging back and forth, and we had never talked about what bait we were using. You were using a different bait than I was. I can't remember what the baits were. I can't remember what you were using and I were using. And then I think we both kind of figured it out. It seemed like almost at the same time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I just discovered something totally new about the game. And, I was excited, and then I was sharing it with you, and you're like, I was just thinking that same thing. So for those watching and listening, what Heath and I had discovered is the game will show you different swirls and different bubbles based on what you have on your line when you refresh the game. So let's say Heath and I have somehow magically have the same 15 fish in our water. So when you look at, you know, your fish finder, there's always 15 fish. And let's say miraculously the game has generated 15 of the same fish for us. And and Heath has a minnow on and I have a soft bait on. So Heath is going to get on his game different swirls and bubbles than I get because we have different baits on. The game takes that into consideration. And I don't know if that's by design. I mean, it seems like it would be by design unless it's random. The problem is when we come along with stuff like this, come upon stuff like this, is unless the developers chime in, you know, we don't know. It's all speculation.
Right.
So, but that is why I do some of these funny things, and it seems to work. And like I said before, if something's working for you, do it. And I just look for other ways to try to help people eliminate not catching fish you don't want to catch. And this method here should also help you not catch a bunch of other distractor fish. The only other fish we should reel in, if we don't get a convict sergeant, would be a Spanish mackerel on top. And again, the key to this one is if you cast with that dough ball and you do not get a bite within 2 seconds, just pull back in and keep casting. And the goal is to not catch other fish.
So I turned down my headset volume. They're saying that there's a lot of echo from you, and I'm wondering if my mic is picking up your... Because I have to use mic for them to hear me.
I'll speak.
So I turned my headset down to see if maybe that'll help. Guess I could go put headphones on.
I've caught a few of these. I've not caught a bunch of them yet. But I did make sure I caught one. I think I caught more before it switched to...
So they said now your method makes more sense.
Yes,
it is confusing to some people. So
it is confusing.
To everybody, probably.
It's even a little bit confusing after I explain it, but it does make sense, and that's why here, if you want to see it in action, I can give you a great level. Go to US 18, and we're gonna do this on expert and do 20 casts refreshing with the minnow, and only cast at the swirls. So only cast at those top water fish with the minnow. And you are going to catch a bunch of wahoo, barracuda. You'll catch some of the epics. But you know, when I do the leaderboard, I'm looking for boards that don't have a lot of huge fish with my refreshes, because the 12-point fish are just the absolute worst. So if you do that, do 20 casts casting at swirls with the minnows. And when I say 20 casts casting at the swirls, that means, you know, drag that lure over that swirl at full speed. You know, you don't stop and let a fish become interested. So you're going to drag it over it at full speed. And like I said, when you do that 20 times with the minnows, you're going to get a bunch of fish that pull the line right when you hook it, which I do not like for leaderboard fishing, because that's a waste of 6-8 seconds each time. And like I said, you're going to get a lot of huge fish. You're going to get the wahoo, which is terrible for leaderboard points and time. The barracuda. You will get the 20-point epics. You'll get the roosterfish and the Pacific sailfish. And then when you redo that experiment with the soft bait, what you're going to find is you are catching primarily spotted sand bass. I think the kelp bass is on there. The California scorpion fish. So you're going to catch all the 6-point fish. And then if you do get a 9-point fish, you shouldn't get any huge fish. You might come across the California sheephead if you dawdle a little bit, because it's yellow for the worm, or the soft bait, sorry. So if you let it sit a little bit too long, you might get that sheephead. But other than that, you're going to get those 6-point fish and the California corbina, which is a 9-point fish, but it does not run when you hook it. So to me, that's an acceptable leaderboard fish. So do that 20 times with each, and you should get a good idea for what I'm talking about with the game showing you those different bubbles and swirls based on what you have on the line. Refresh.
Trying to catch the epic on level 3 South Korea, and I've only gotten a bluegill, and I need some advice. I'm trying to remember what the epic on South Korea 3 was. I can't bring up my spreadsheet and close my browser to get to it.
Yeah, and we can't go to South Korea.
Right, because we're in Japan right now.
Without dropping the rooms and stuff like that.
So I do have a video on my channel for South Korea 3. If you haven't seen that video yet, you can go out and watch that one. I do catch all the epics for South Korea in my epics playlist out there. So if you haven't looked at that yet, I'd recommend going out there and checking that out. So the only one I don't have on South Korea is that golden koi, because they just introduced that on South Korea 7. And I took Scott's advice. He's catching it. You were catching it in Japan, weren't you, or something like that? I adapted it to South Korea.
I've caught it on Japan. I think it's Japan 8, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, Japan 8. I've got a video. No, I catch it on Japan 8, and I do the same thing. It's a 2-step.
Yeah, trying to find
I start off with, I forget what I have on when I refresh, and then I switch to, I think it's the soft bait.
Yep, use the soft bait.
And then if you're reeling full speed and the fish likes it, just keep reeling or quick retrieve it. If you go over a swirl with that soft bait and you don't get a bite, let that soft bait fall for about 4 seconds, and that should be, I think I might have a Sergeant swirl here. I could be wrong. That should be the golden koi.
Yep.
I think I've got the convict sergeant.
And if you only have South Korea, what I did was I used a shiner for the golden koi, and it used the same technique. I was aiming. I believe it's for the swirls, right? I think it's on top. And then, oh, there you go. So I was aiming for the swirls, and I would count to 9. So if you can count to about 9 and not get a bite, good chance that that's your golden koi. Now, if you get a bite right away or within there, then that's
yep.
Yeah, you don't want to do that one.
That's another great method, and that's why, I posted this to somebody else's comments. Sometimes the best way to go about a fish is not using its preferred bait. If you can use a bait that you know that is going to take forever, it's going to be red for it just because you kind of sleuthed it out. Exactly what Heath said. If it takes so long for it to take that, that's the only fish that waits that long, that's a perfect way to eliminate the other fish.
Yep.
So that's really what our methods are about. There's nothing we can do or anybody can do to make a fish be in the water. Our methods are about, trying to do things to identify and only have to reel in a high percentage chance of it being that fish you're targeting. All right, so I got my convict, so I'm gonna switch to sharks. I'm trying to learn some things to predict my shark size. I'm really good with the other 4 sharks. I'm getting better with the Japan sharks now. A key on the goblin shark is a lot of times you won't see the fin, and part of this is dependent on how close the shark is to you when it takes it. The further out it is, the more the fish you see, so you have to take that with kind of a grain of salt. But if you've got switching gears, if you've got a goblin shark and you can see a really good portion of that fin, it's going to be a decent sized one. I caught a 148 and I could almost see the whole fin. And then if you see no fin when it's way out, you're going to be right down there in that 120, 125 range. If you care about trying to figure out how big it is before it comes in. Just something fun I like to do. Just try and predict my shark size.
So Michael says, I missed why you refresh with different bait, then switch to the desired one. Can you explain that again? That was a long.
So
Make it a short
a
explanation.
a quick recap is Keith and I were fishing the same map together, and we were getting very different results. We were only casting at swirls, and he was catching very different fish than I was catching. And so we were kind of scratching our heads, and we both kind of got there at the same time. And what we figured out is the game displays different swirls based on what bait or lure you have on when you refresh the game. So if Heath and I both had the same fish somehow, all the same fish, and he was fishing with the soft bait and I was fishing with the minnow, the game would show him different swirls than me because of our bait at the time of refresh. So then we've turned around and taken that knowledge to help sleuth out some of these fish. So like the convict sergeant, I figured out that if you have the crawfish on, when you refresh, you're more likely to see bubbles or swirls for that convict sergeant. So that's really what it is. And it's trial and error in trying to find out what bait to do to bring up those bubbles and swirls, because sometimes you might have a convict sergeant on the level, but you're not getting the bubbles or swirls because of the bait you had on when you refreshed that level. So I mess around and try to catch these fish, determining, sometimes it is their preferred bait. Sometimes the preferred bait is just fine, and sometimes it's not. So, but that is the gist of it, is the game gives you different bubbles and swirls based on what you have on at the time of refresh. And a test you can do on your own that I talked about is go to US 18 and do 20 casts with the minnow on, only at swirls, and you're going to see you catch a lot of barracuda, wahoo, and maybe the sailfish and the rooster fish. Repeat those 20 casts with the soft bait on, and you should find that you catch no huge fish, so no wahoo, no mahi. You're not going to get the barracuda. The only medium fish you will get will be the California corbina, which doesn't fight when you hook it, or maybe the sheephead if you drag your bait a little too slowly. So during this experiment, I want you to reel full speed and only catch the fish if you get a bite reeling at full speed on those swirls. And that should give you a pretty good feeling for what we're talking about. That you do get different swirls and bubbles depending on the bait you have on at the time of refresh. Sorry, that was not quick. That was a full recap. So we're about a half hour into it. So I know you haven't had a lot of time, but the time you have spent in Japan, how are you feeling about it?
I like Japan. It's got pretty awesome scenery.
I like it a lot. I think the levels as a DLC, a complete set of really nice levels to look at. I really like it. I love the nighttime levels. Some of the nighttime levels can be hard to see the bubbles and swirls.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
Use those.
There's a lot of glare.
No, I think this was an overwhelming success for the most part. I know everyone's always going to have some. I wish they did this or that.
Oh yeah, every game is that way. Can't please everybody.
And I think some people are confused on what the DLC was. A lot of people I was expecting better graphics. That's not what a DLC is. A DLC is just
new maps,
content
new fish
in the same game that you've been playing.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not an upgrade to the game engine, which is what would be required to maybe get some graphic increases. So I'm sure we will see some, we've got some new things coming. I know what Heath and I are probably looking most forward to, at least I know I am, is the PvP, the competition mode.
And there's people that
host little mini games in your own room.
Yeah, there's people that buy this game. They buy the quest and they buy this game, and this is all the only gaming they've ever done. So they might not even know what a DLC is or anything like. They've never experienced it in any other game. So this is kind of new to them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so DLC is just, for the most part, new content. They fix some of the mechanics and stuff like that if there's an issue. But they will release an engine update like last October when we got the new float fishing and lure fishing. That was a kind of an engine update, where they changed the the basis of the game, and that's not what this was. And people were disappointed. Oh, it was only 10 levels, but I want to break it down like this. So let's say. So South Korea was $20, and U.S. West and Japan is another 20 combined. I think is how it works out. So you got $40 into this game, right? And a few other games that are $40. There's not a lot. Walking Dead, I think, is $40. Resident Evil is $40. So you buy VR Fishing and all of its DLCs and Resident Evil or Walking Dead on the same day, and you play them both for a year. Walking Dead and Resident Evil 4, both are fun games, but once you've done them, you've seen the story, you know the story, the puzzles are going to be the same, very little replay value. So you might play Walking Dead or Resident Evil 40 hours, maybe, even with replaying it a couple times. I can finish Walking Dead in about a sitting now.
Wow.
It takes me, better part of a day. But now that I know how to craft, I know what I'm looking for, I know what not to look for. And then Resident Evil, you get to keep all your equipment and stuff, so when you replay that, you can fly through it. I can replay Resident Evil in about 4 hours now, skipping the cinematics. So let's say I get 40 hours of gameplay out of either one of those. I've paid $1 an hour to play that game. I spent $40. I played 40 hours. You spend $40 on this game in over a year, I guarantee the average player is going to average at least an hour a day.
Mm-hmm.
This game's like being in a casino. You look at the clock, and then you start playing, and then, it's like, holy moly, it's 3 hours later. So in a year, you could easily play this game 300 hours, 1,000 hours. You're paying pennies on the dollar for the amount of time you get out of this game. It's really unlimited. It's what you want to do with it. So, some people, were a little upset with the price, and then it was only 10 levels. So I wanted to break the math down about how much you're paying over time to play this game versus some of the other Oculus games you may buy. This probably has, if they would rate Oculus games on replay value, this would have to be at the top of the list. Would have to be.
Diane says she lives in Vegas, and this game is more fun than a casino. And Michael has a 256 gig Oculus and only this game.
Right. Yeah, I wish I'd opted for the bigger headset. I've got a 64, and now they've gone up $100. So
right.
I think I'm just going to deal with the 64. When I was looking, because I was trying to free up some hard drive space, and I'm almost finished. I have been distracting myself when I want something else to do. I am going through Resident Evil another time, and it doesn't do cloud save, and I thought it would because on SideQuest I couldn't find the data file for it. Just offload my saves. So I figured, probably cloud saves. And I load it back in, and of course everything's gone. So, but I found that I'm enjoying it a little more. Having to do everything.
Shark.
So, but I am running into hard drive space, and part of that is because of my videos. So
right.
I just got a tiny fin tip on this goblin. I was trying to talk about sizes, and this one is really far out. So again, the further out they are, and the sharks run out to where your bait fish originated in the map. And the further out the shark is, the more the body sticks out. So I'm going to say this is a little bit bigger than your standard 120-ish You know, I think I might be in the high 120s. I don't think I'm in the 130s. And again, I'm not great at guessing these sizes yet, but that's one thing I'm working on. With the South Korea sharks and U.S. West sharks, I can generally get within, you know, 5
African
inches.
palmetto.
Unless it's on like US 18 or Japan's 5. We've got that left corner where, you know, 300 feet is, you know,
Right.
right in your face, really.
Yeah.
And it distorts the fish sizes. I have trouble when I hook them over there because the game does some funky things displaying their graphics. And then you have the random, you know, mega fish glitch where the game just makes your fish huge every once in a while, and then all bets are off there.
Although I haven't seen that here. Of course, I haven't been playing a whole lot. My thumb has been killing me, so I had to give it a break.
I fished with some people. I haven't fished that much multiplayer in Japan yet, but I have fished with some people who said they've had it. I've not seen it. And the white line issue, where you get that little swatch of
still see that
white line, I've only had once in Japan.
Yeah, I still get it quite often.
Even on Japan? Man, I bet I spent hours trying to figure out what's causing that. And I don't know, you know, maybe the developers know and they're just having trouble fixing it. But, you know, that could be any, you know, small piece of, gosh, I can't imagine how many characters of code this game would have. Millions, probably. You know, something like that could be very difficult.
Yeah, it swirls.
I'm going to go 132. It's going to be my final guess. Let's see. 125. I was off by 6.
Oops.
6 and a half. I knew it was bigger than the standard little 120.
Yeah. Yeah, my 120 didn't last very long on the contest the other day. But I was like, whatever. I'll just throw it out there.
I've got a big mega mouth. I just caught another one. I think I forget where I am on the mega mouth. Maybe in the 20s. I don't have a big goblin yet. I think 148. I know I don't have a 150 yet. I don't think. And I still don't have a 230 blunt nose. I've got over 1,000 blunt nose, and I don't have a 230. And that just goes to show, you know, there's nothing you can do about shark sizes. I mean, it is completely random. I do think they increased the frequency of the bigger sharks during that increased event because it seemed like, you know, an hour into my daily contests, people were posting, you know, the upper limits of each shark right away.
Yeah.
So it made competition hard. Competitions are back to being pretty competitive now because sometimes we've had a couple days where we had no winners on some sharks because no one got a qualifying size. Because I do bump it up that, you know, the very first posting has to be, you know, a certain size.
So Diane, I'm actually changing my bait length to high and low to match the swirls and the bubbles. So I haven't been using the middle. I've been doing the up high for the swirls. I do it really quick, so you might not notice it. But yeah, I'm actually keeping it up high for the swirls and low for the bubbles.
Yeah, to me, the hardest fish to catch in the game are the ones that are middle fish only and epic because there's no bubbles, no swirls. So what I do on those is if I can float fish, I can. Trying to middle water fish with a lure is mind-numbing to make sure you're in range. So I just, you know, use the preferred bait, set it to middle depth, and I just kind of cast, you know, around a clock face from, you know, just a little bit past 9 o'clock to almost 3 o'clock. You know, cast, reel it in 3 seconds, let it sit, and just keep it moving. And then if you have a preferred bait and you don't get a bite right away, then you move on, because if it's a preferred bait and you're at the right water range, your line's going to turn red within about a second and a half of stopping reeling. A good example of that would be the I can't remember what it's called. Bar-bellied, I think it's Japan. Let me see the maps here. I think it's 4, Japan 4, I think. Is that the one with the pirate boat? think it is.
Might be.
That one's a middle water epic. I can't remember. Its preferred bait might be. I think the preferred bait is the crawfish. So just set your crawfish at middle, and just keep working the water around a clock face. You'll do it about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then I do about 3 reels per time. And then when I stop reeling, if I don't have a bite, and like I said, about a second and a half, I just reel it in a little bit further, and then just work it like a clock face. It's the only thing you can do on those. They're pains. The middle only fish.
And this is what he's talking about, is a clock face. Is I'll cast over here, and I'll cast here, and I'll cast here, and then I'll cast here. I just go all the way across. So yeah. Oh, let me do some. There's a lot of bubbles out there. Let me drop it down here. It's easier to tell size with swirls than bubbles. You can see your smaller swirls.
I've not been able to.
But the bubbles,
I've not been able to do it with the bubbles.
Yeah.
With the swirls, and this fish, the convict sergeant, is pretty easy.
It's pretty small, isn't it?
With the swirls, because it's going to be just like a little puddle of a swirl. If you see a big bright swirl, that's not going to be that convict sergeant. I'll try and catch it. I'm going to give a couple more casts.
I might just sit here
and then I'll try and get another convict.
Reset until I see a tiny swirl. Maybe that's how I'll do it.
Yeah, because the only other fish that likes the dough ball on this board is that Spanish mackerel, and that is, I believe, a large fish. I don't think it's medium. I think it's large, so it would have a pretty significant swirl. So what I'll try to do is I'm gonna give this bait fish 5 more tries on a shark, and then I'll switch back to trying to catch the convict. And I'm gonna try to do it without casting unless I see a swirl. So I'll see how my swirl knowledge goes. And then sometimes you have swirls that go away really fast. Generally, I was trying to figure out, does that maybe mean it's a middle water fish? Maybe you see a swirl and it's only there for about 4 seconds, and that could be. I don't know. Don't know exactly what the meaning of those swirls that show up right when you refresh,
right,
and they're gone
instantly
in like 3 seconds. The only thing I could think of is maybe those are middle water fish. You only see the swirl because maybe the fish is diving down. You see a swirl right at the start, and then it's gone. I got 2 more casts on this shark bait, and then I'll try to get another convict. So your Pokemon Go event that you're going to right after here, you said you had tickets to it. Was that just like unlock the event,
yes,
or do you actually have to go somewhere special to find these Pokemon?
So it's a ticket that unlocks the event, and it actually started at 10 o'clock this morning, and it goes from 10 to 6. And there's different things that spawn every 2 hours.
Time.
Yeah.
Oh, they respawn every 2 hours, so you have a 2-hour window that you were shooting
right.
for.
You have specific tasks that you have to do
1 hour.
every 2 hours. You have a specific task that you got to do.
Thankfully, I never got into the Pokemon Go because I could see it turning into like a VR fishing for me, where I have to like get them all and know everything about them. So I'm glad I did not jump into that, because I can get hooked on something relatively.
I've pretty much been playing it nonstop since 2016, so every day.
There are some funny videos of people, walking into fountains and off of stuff, and funny videos. All right, so no sharks here. Oh no, I'm going to give up on the sharks. I'm going to go back to the convict. And again, I'm going to try to wait until I believe I've got the swirl I want. So I'm not going to cast unless I think I see a convict swirl. See how good my game is.
Way weak.
Now, what you might see me cast at is a swirl that goes away really quick. Oh gosh, that one's not big. wonder if I got one on the... nah. I don't think this is it. It's a little bigger than what I would think. So 1,000, 1,000. Nope. No.
Yeah, I'm gonna just look for tiny swirls too, I think.
So and I'm gonna try refresh. I'll just leave the dough ball on for my refresh and see what happens. No, I guess I'll stick with my crawfish. That's worked for me.
It's a small one.
A little bit of them. I wish it wasn't so many thumb movements. No, I think
Is that instant?
that's faint.
It was. It was instant. Oh, but that big swirl just went up to it, so that's probably not it then. Yeah, it's not. Goodbye.
Well, it could have been the Spanish mackerel.
Yeah.
The big swirl that came over to it. That's probably what it was. I bet if you caught that fish, it's the Spanish mackerel. I think I had two what kind of look small. My goal was to not waste any casts. Since I was uncertain. So I'm going to wait till I have like the tiniest swirl. Okay. I had one that disappeared. And again, but I don't know if those disappearing swirls mean they're topwater fish or not.
Trying to cast short here and not hit my chat. Let me move my chat. Move it up here. There we go.
Oh, and I guess I should also at least throw them at the bubbles. I'm silly. I'm just looking at the swirls and ignoring the bubbles. So, and this was a disappearing swirl. There we go. So this was a disappearing swirl, and this is going to be, I think this is going to be it. The swirl was small. No, it's going to be the freaking Spanish mackerel. That's the one problem with this. If we went to South Korea 20, there would be no distractor fish whatsoever.
Ah, okay. So that's the one you want
On
to...
top, you will get that Spanish mackerel.
That's the map you want to really use to target these then, I guess.
Yeah, South Korea 20. If you get a bite with the dough ball right away, it's always going to be the convict sardine.
Good to know. Well, yeah, I figured should do Japan today for the stream.
Oh yeah.
Something new. Yeah, the swirl's way too big.
See, and the ones that the swirls that disappear are always really small is the problem. You never see like a big swirl. At least I don't notice a big swirl disappear. It's always one that looks really small and then it just fades away.
There's one out there.
Now, I feel like they show up on South Korea 20 with a little higher frequency.
Good to know, Michael.
So I would definitely go there if you're looking for it. I think that one I just caught with you is only the second one I've caught on here. And the rest, I think that was number 6 or 7. 5 thumbsticks.
So Michael's caught 6 total so far. His have all been on top. And Diane's heading to South Korea 20 after this.
That would be my recommendation. I mean, that's where I shot my video for it.
So we got about 15 minutes left or so. We might go a little over since we started a little late, maybe 5 minutes or so. But so you got a competition coming up.
Yep. So I announced it on our page today.
Okay.
It's just going to be the standard. So we do, if you're not familiar with my contest, we do a fish of the day contest and a shark of the day. Usually no prizes, but there's going to be a prize this month. And it's just the fish of the day. We pick a saltwater fish and a freshwater fish, and it's picked by the previous day's winner. And whoever catches the biggest fish picks the next saltwater and freshwater fish. And then for the sharks, it is the 6 standard sharks plus the frilled shark. And it runs for a 24-hour period, and it's just bragging rights. I try to update the page as often as I can throughout the day, and just bragging rights. And then at the end of the month, Rick Thomas puts together this nice presentation spreadsheet of kind of all the sharks stats that he collects. So he logs all of the shark data. And so for the month of September, the person who hauls in the very biggest megamouth shark is going to get a free pair of Oakley split shot fishing sunglasses, and they're going to be able to customize them. And I told them I could have their Oculus username etched into them if they would like, or if they would like something else etched into the lens, they can.
Awesome.
And those are valued at about $300. They're going to come with their Oakley's Prism polarized lenses, which prism technology for Oakley is a greatly improved contrast. It really brightens up colors. It makes what you're looking at through sunglasses kind of look like their true color, what you would see them out in real life. It's just a very brilliant, vibrant color setup for them. It's really neat if you've never looked at it before. So pretty big prize for fishing for a month. You do have to be a member of the group on or before midnight or 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on September 1st to participate. And it's just whoever gets the biggest megamouth will get the glasses, and I'll arrange the customizations with the winner.
And for my subscribers who aren't part of his Facebook page, I will put a link in the description so you can go out and join up.
It's fun. It's grown. So my group, my Facebook page actually started. It was a repository for me to just upload all my files and get them off my headset. So if I did a video, I would just do the upload from headset feature. And then I never intended it to be a group with members. And then I guess somehow people just searching my name or whatever from the regular page started joining my group. And then it has just kind of spawned into, I think I might have our fish on my targets. So it's really turned into this daily fishing contest group. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So like I said, all bragging rights until now. And then, I forgot, it could be that Spanish mackerel. I think this is it. I think I've got another one. Don't be a Spanish mackerel. It's a Spanish mackerel. Goodness gracious. So that Spanish mackerel does throw out a smaller looking swirl heath. So my recommendation for this fish, and I'm going to reel this in, this should be a Spanish mackerel. Now I just want to make sure. My recommendation for the convict sergeant is going to be South Korea 20, because there's no other fish who like the dough ball.
Oops, way off. Well, I'll probably fish that later tonight and catch a few of them.
Another good example of how to use some of this, funny business. Yeah, Spanish mackerel, or Japanese mackerel. Why did I keep calling this Spanish mackerel? I think I saw a Spanish mackerel at our local market. I've got another small swirl right out there. Maybe I had a Spanish mackerel and a sergeant right on top of
next
each
to
other.
each
How
other?
funny would that be? My small swirl's back out there. Yeah, I've got another fish. I might have had the imposter and the convict. Yeah, here it is. How funny is that? Look at that. Look what the game just tried to do to me.
Try to trick you.
It put the two fish, the very two fish that'll take this dough ball on top, right on top of each other. Too funny. So,
So I am actually testing right now the AMVR head strap with the battery in it. It's like the competitor to the Oculus version. And I am loving this thing. It's got the counterbalance and everything on the back of it now.
So I've got the Bobo, and what I did is I have this little travel, like, it's not even a travel. What it is, it's the case for my cat's continuous glucose monitor when he had to wear one after he got diagnosed with diabetes.
Yeah.
And it's about, maybe 3 inches by 4 inches. And I put some change in there to, get it to weigh about 4 ounces. And I put some Velcro on my little Bobo circle on the back, to tighten it. And I put some Velcro on that. And that's about 4 ounces of weight. So I kind of rigged it myself to counterbalance. And just those 4 ounces when I put it on, pulling down on that headset on the back really takes pressure off.
Oh, yeah. It's awesome.
Another tip when you're doing some things like this, a good time to use a C-class bait. If you're fishing for a fish and there are other fish around it that would prefer that bait, switch to the C bait. Because if you're casting on top of a bubble or swirl, you're right on top of it. So if you use that C bait, it's got less of an attraction rating, so those fish that are a little further away that would like it won't come as easily over to it.
It's actually what I've been using is the dough ball, sea dough ball. Just because I'm using the gold crawfish. Well, I was using I haven't been using it here for the past few resets.
Let's see if I can catch one more before we get out of here. I'm not going to catch it on hard. I really wish I kind of knew what I know now about the game when the I guess I'm going to cast at the bubbles though. Because you don't know, but I'll know if I get an instant bite.
Right.
I wish I'd cataloged all of the epic fish with their complete bait preferences when they had that glitch where you could use the fish finder on hard or on expert and see the epics on the fish finder.
Yeah.
But I did not know. So that took place last summer, and then as soon as I reported it, they fixed it relatively quickly. But I was not smart about it because I really had an opportunity during that time. But I did want to report it. I didn't want to let it go unreported. But I could have, if I were a little smarter, quick thinking about it, I could have gotten out there and color coded all of the epics. But just didn't put 2 and 2 together that I had a really good opportunity to get some exclusive data about the game. But I like the fish of the week idea here. I was really hoping it was going to be a different fish, every week, not just the new fish that were released on the start of the event. I was really looking forward to having some sleuthing to do every week.
Mm-hmm.
That's still fun. There was a little confusion about it at the beginning.
Switch to the gold one and see.
No swirls, only bubbles. Well, I might have one. I've let my line sit there a little bit longer than I was looking over the
I was reading a chat up here.
past you. I think that might have been a frilled shark. I'm gonna go back and.
So Denise says she caught a convict sergeant before the competition started. I've been following Scott's suggestions, just haven't been lucky yet. Love the game and appreciate all the positive comments on the Facebook page. Yeah, the Facebook page is awesome. There's a lot of awesome people out there. Everybody's out there to help each other.
Where was that swirl?
Probably the best gaming
What's the
community
frill
I've
shark
ever
like?
been involved with.
Oh, hands down.
Yeah.
You will never ever find a gaming community like this. I mean, I've never found a single gaming community that the developers are interactive with the community at
Nope.
all.
This is the first
I
time.
mean, at all. Zero, zip, zilch, nada. And you've got Devs United, who are very interactive with their fan base. Maybe it wasn't a float shark down there.
That was fairly quick.
And what? Another thing, when you're trying to lure fish on bottom, as soon as you're, and you can see this if you fish on normal mode, that's not going to be it. Your attraction rating when your lure hits the bottom gets sapped. So once your lure hits the bottom, you have a very low attraction rating until you get that lure up off the bottom, just for a couple reels. But that can be the difference between getting a bite indicator and not, though. If that is, no, those are bubbles. Sometimes I have trouble with the bubbles looking like a small swirl.
Right.
Bubbles aren't going anywhere. I wish we had kind of a timeline on when we're going to get the next set of Japan levels. I'm thinking it will probably happen fairly quickly. I don't know. I could be completely off. But Japan came out a lot faster than I was expecting.
That's probably why we only have 10 levels. They probably weren't quite finished with the other 10. So they're like, well, let's get something released. Please our
And I'll be interested
members
to see if they do a 30 like US
Right.
West. I wonder if they're going to do 10 more and then 10 more, and then I would guess we're probably going to see like a South Korea revisit, like the US West revisit, because I would think since that's where they're based out of, that they've probably got a lot of other locations, the principal photography and stuff done for those, I would think. And then what I'm looking forward to more than any DLC is that player versus player.
Yep. I'm looking forward to
Which
that too.
I'm guessing is going to be like something like like a Call of Duty interface where the host picks the map and sets up the parameters, and maybe it's a 10-minute match, and whoever catches the most leaderboard points worth of fish during those 10 minutes is the winner, and it ranks the players 1 through 4, however many people are in there. I think that's the closest thing I could imagine. The other thing that would be neat is kind of like a head-to-head. So let's say there's 4 of us or 2 of us in the room, and it loads the same 15 fish for all of us. But your 15 or your 15, my 15 or my 15, and that way we're competing against the same fish to see who can catch all 15 of their fish the fastest, maybe. So there's some different things I've spun around in my head on how this PvP could work out, but I'm pretty excited for whatever it is when it comes out.
Yeah, I'm curious how they're going to do that.
Small disappearing swirl way out here. Nope. So have you done much with PC VR with your new graphics card yet?
Not a whole lot. I did a little bit on Flight Simulator.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. But I haven't done a whole lot of PC VR yet.
My oldest brother, who is not into gaming whatsoever, has ended up with a Rift. I told him I would try to sell it for him. I don't know. I don't even know what they go for. I don't know if they're more expensive than the Quest 2, less expensive. but his wife's parents' credit card was hacked, and the people who bought the Rift,
Oh.
the hacked credit card, forgot to change the shipping address, so it got shipped to their house rather than to the scammer's house. So they saw the fraudulent charge, and American Express reversed the charge, but the Rift still
It shows
up
up
on
at
their
their
doorstep.
house. That's awesome.
They just told him to keep it. So, but he would have no interest in, buying a gaming PC. I don't even know what a desktop one would cost now to have the specs you need to run VR. I know they're coming down in price. A year and a half, 2 years ago, you dropped at least a couple grand.
Oh yeah.
And I think you can get a gaming laptop now for less than $2,000.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
The games. I just can't wait till we have a viable 4K headset. This swirl's too big. It looked small, and then as the fish started moving it.
Alright, I'll cast out to this one. Nope.
When I first saw Japan and I saw that frilled shark outline, I thought we were getting another blunt nose style shark, and it is. I guess it kind of reminds me like a mix between a blunt nose and a goblet when you kind of get to it. It's a small disappearance swirl. I keep forgetting to cast the bubbles.
Oops. Just moved my chat right in front of me. So I guess technically you could have, I got to thinking of you now that I think about it, you could have pulled up the chat as well. You just pull up the stream on the
I was
on
gonna
YouTube.
I was gonna ask
Yeah,
you about that.
just pull up the stream on YouTube
just,
and
bring up your broadcast right in my headset. I think this is a small swirl.
Alright, I think I'm going to do one more reset,
Nope.
and then I'll have to call it after that.
Definitely. I was really hoping you could catch it
Yeah,
earlier on,
me
but
too.
I got two. I would say next time, if you play some tonight, try it on
Do South Korea 20.
South Korea 20.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing I don't know is what if the percentages differ per level? What if it's got on every refresh a 20% chance of showing up on this map, and it's like 30% on South Korea.
Right.
There's just no way to ever know that, because one thing we do know is the Chinese sturgeon is on Japan 8.
Apparently.
And good luck getting that thing to show up, because we can see that thing with the fish finder,
Right.
and you could be waiting on a Chinese New Year for that thing to show up.
Yeah, I've heard it's out there. I've just never seen it. That's frustrating.
So I thought it was a new in beta. In beta, I thought it was a new rare.
Oh, there's my white
And
line.
Heath, I bet I spent 30 minutes on that fish finder trying to find something that did not turn green.
Right.
And I just kept going and going. I never cast a line, and I'm like, oh no, what if it's a rare that for some reason is miscoded and is green somehow for a bait. And then I think it was Bob from one of the beta people did catch one, and I'm like, oh, it's the Chinese sturgeon, and I'm like, well, I've got that, I don't need a Chinese
Right.
sturgeon, so I stopped.
Yeah, I spent at least an hour going refresh, and never found one.
Right. They do exist.
That's what I've heard.
I've never been fishing with someone while they caught one. I've never caught one. So I'm trying to think. So the next, I'm trying to figure out what the next mystery fish might be, and we're kind of thinking that it, it might be the koi, the golden koi, but the only reason I'm thinking it might not be the golden koi is the golden koi is the only epic on Japan 8. And then these fish are going away on September 22nd. So I don't think the golden koi, unless they're going to introduce a new epic for Japan 8, I don't think the golden koi is going to be one of the fish. Now the oarfish on 10 is a second epic, I believe. I think so. Can we hop over to 10 real quick?
Yeah, we'll do that one real quick, and then so
I think.
Let me reply to Gary here.
Because there would have to be two epic fish for them to remove a fish. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we've got the oarfish.
So Gary, yeah, I can do a video on that. I've done a few videos on how to take pictures and transfer them to the group page, but it keeps changing.
No,
There's
the
different
oarfish
ways.
is not.
So I'm assuming you want the video where you put your watch in front of your hand, and on that I usually use voice commands to do that. It's just a little bit easier, but yeah, I can. I'll put together a video on that and post it.
The oarfish is not a double, and then so if the oarfish is going to be one, I don't see how they remove the oarfish. Let's hop over to 8. And which level? What Japan level was the catfish on? 4 or no?
I don't remember. I'm gonna have to end the stream here pretty soon. I have like 45 minutes. I got to get to a part 2.
Yeah. Go ahead, head out. So it would it's got to be fish that if they're on Japan levels, and maybe they're not all on Japan levels. Maybe they're not all on Japan and U.S. We could be wrong about that. Maybe they're just the new fish that hit South Korea, the oarfish, the golden catfish, the sergeant. Catfish, sergeant, the koi is on Japan. Those are the 4 new to South Korea, but the koi is also on Japan 8. So if they remove the koi, then
Nick says catfish is 4.
know what the catfish is 4. So if we go to 4, you'll see that there's going to be another epic on 4, so they can remove the golden catfish. Oh, goodness gracious. I see, this is where the simplest answer is right in front of me. We were just on a level with 2 epics. The convict sergeant and the frilled shark are on 6. So they can remove this golden catfish, and we still have the giant lake Bawa catfish.
Yep.
On 6, they can remove the convict sergeant, and you still have the frilled shark. So I'm not sure what they're going to do. That's why I don't think it's going to be the koi, because there's no other epic on 8. So I don't know.
All right.
But we shall see here in the next couple of weeks.
Right. Well, everybody, I have to end the
You
stream.
go catch some Pokemon.
Yep, I got to go play some Pokemon. And thanks for watching. Thanks for coming out and watching the stream. And like I said, I'm going to put Doc's link in the description, so you guys go out there and join his page and try out his competitions. So thanks for watching, and have a great day.
All right.